we've seen few readers in this section. We've gone ahead and coded a lot of readers. Now let's take a step forward and code one of the writers. So up till now we've been using this writer employee writer, which was doing nothing much but logging it on the console for us. So this is great for learning, but not so great for real world applications. In real world applications, you'll be often writing to downstream systems like a message broker or a message queue or a database. So this is not that great, and we're going to go ahead and code the first real world example. In this video, we're going to connect to RabbitMQ. And if you don't know what RabbitMQ is, it's simply a message queue with a durability and a sort of asynchronous way of communication between two systems. So we're going to go ahead and plug RabbitMQ in. Again, I'll be using Docker as the medium for setting up RabbitMQ. So I've added this section into the Docker compose YAML file. Please go ahead and do the same. I'm going to call out that the image we'll be using is going to be the 3.13 management, because this is the image that also includes the web UI. So when RabbitMQ runs, we've got the UI as well. So this is that, and this is the port that it exposes for the actual protocol, and this is where the UI is made available for us in the HTTP console. So that's that. And when we connect to RabbitMQ, we need a dependency into the POM. So I've gone ahead and added that as well. So this is the starter dependency for RabbitMQ in Spring. Please go ahead and add these two code snippets into your project before starting. Now I'm going to add some of the properties for RabbitMQ auto configuration. So I'm going to paste them here. And this is going to be the credentials which Spring Boot application is going to use to connect to RabbitMQ. So with all these things in place, let's go ahead and create our RabbitMQ writer into the writers package. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to create a class called RabbitMQ writer, and let's just put this into presentation mode. So that's great. So as following standard protocol, we are going to implement the item writer, and the type is going to be employee processed, and we're going to implement the write method. So let's go ahead and add that. Let's also decorate it as a beam. And here we are going to wire something known as a rabbit template. So this is the class which we use to push the message. So you've got this rabbit template wired. Also, let's go ahead and get the object mapper, because we're going to post JSON messages into the message queue. So we need this. Let's have a constructor with both of these. That looks good. Let's go ahead. And so here we have the chunk, and we're going to loop the chunk and going to post message one by one. So I'm going to add a for loop here. So for each item in the chunk, for each employee in the chunk, we're going to use the rabbit template and use a method called convert and send. So now convert and send is an overloaded method with 3 arguments. We're going to use this one, and this is going to be, first one is going to be our exchange, second one is going to be the routing key, and third is going to be the actual message. So just to add the message here, okay, the first thing is that this is not an employee, it's an employee processed object. That's great. So we need to convert this employee processed POJO into a string, JSON string. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that using object mapper. So that is the way, and let's pass E here. This may throw an exception, so it's good to surround this into a try catch block. I'm going to put this here, and it actually throws this method actually throws something known as a AMQP exception, if you see here. So if there is any problem with rabbit end, then you'll have the AMQP exception being thrown. So let's do that, and let's add a explicit catch block here for AMQP exception. That's great. And let's add a rethrow here. So this way we'll know that there is some problem with rabbit. So let's going to add a error message here. So we don't see the logger. So let's go ahead and add it on the top. This is going to be the logger, and let's have this here. So let's create this method. I'm going to use IntelliJ for that. This is create method, which is good. Here we can simply log it and just say RabbitMQ occurred. RabbitMQ exception occurred. Yeah, and let's put a stack trace there, and we're going to throw new runtime exception, and let's just call it this. So this is just for simulation. This is not how you'll be doing it in production. Here I'm just, my focus just to show you how to write data to Kafka. So exception handling, you can do it on your own. I'm just going to cut this out. And the thing is that you have to actually throw this exception. Otherwise the writer works on a sort of design where it retries based on exceptions. So once the writer encounters an exception, the record is skipped, and if there is a chunk which fails, then the entire chunk gets retried. So we'll be looking at retry in the future videos, but for now just keep a thing in mind that if the published RabbitMQ fails, you have to throw some exception. So you can log it and then throw some exception. So I've added the logger here, so I don't need this, so that is good. Now you have to pass the exchange routing key and the object. So what we are going to do, first we're going to code this here, and then we'll be creating it on the UI. So the JSON is already ready. Let's pass it in the third argument. The routing key, I'm going to use this K1, and the exchange name, let's give it as employee underscore exchange for now. This is by no means a production application, so I'm just sticking to these kind of names. In production, you can have this coming from your database or some other external configuration, but for now, I think for learning, this kind of values are fine. So we have this in place. It looks good to me. Let's plug this in. So we're going to go back to our config, and we've not yet added it here. So let's go at the top, and here we have to add our RabbitMQ writer. So let's call this as Rabbit writer, RabbitMQ writer, and let's replace the employee writer with the RabbitMQ writer. This looks good, but one thing is that when this application starts, we are going to see the FTP code also into action. So we don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few changes here. First of all, I'm going to comment all the classes for FTP config so that they don't get scammed. Second is this one. And if you remember, we had actually commented this bean, which was actually running for us throughout the course. So I'm going to uncomment this so that it can trigger the job. So with this settings in place, this looks good to me. Let's start the application. But before that, we have to spin up our RabbitMQ. So let's go to Docker Compose YAML. In fact, let's open my command prompt. And if you do Docker PS, then nothing is up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start all these services. So as you can see, it has started. So let's go back. Let's check. So we see all three of them have started. So let's go to, it's going to be localhost and this port. Here we are. And if you go to exchanges, we've got some of the default exchanges here. So let's go ahead and create one new exchange. And you remember the name that we gave in the application source code? We are going to use exactly that. So let's go to the writer. Yeah, this is the writer, and this was the name that we gave. So let's copy this. Let's go and paste the name here. I'm going to read the type as direct, and I'm just going to add this exchange. So here we have the exchange added. Let's go and create a binding for this. So for the binding, you have to bind it to a queue. So first let's create a queue here. So as you can see, add a new queue. I'm going to give the name as employees and just add the queue. So we have the queue here. Let's go back to the exchange and connect it to the queue. So the way you do that is using a binding. So which queue you want to connect is going to be employees, and the routing key, let's give us K1. This is what you have given here. So in essence, even if you don't know what RabbitMQ is or what an exchange is, we are simply telling RabbitMQ that if you have a message onto the employee underscore exchange, then post it to a queue called employees if the routing key is K1. That is what it means in essence. So if you have a message on this exchange, then with the routing key this, then post the message here is what we are saying. So we're going to bind this and so the theory is that the client is never aware of the queue name, it is only aware of the exchange and the routing key. So using these two things, the queue gets computed and the message gets posted. So that's good. The code looks good. Let's start this application. Oops, I've run this Docker Compose YAML again. This is the application. Let's run this now. I expect to see no errors, but let's have a look. So as you can see, there are no errors and this has actually started. So if you see the log lines, we've got this Rabbit connection factory, the new connection. So our application could successfully connect to RabbitMQ using the auto configuration and the credentials that we've provided in this YAML file. So that looks good. Let's go back here and you can see we have a spike here. That is, we have some messages around this time. So let's go and have a look at this queue. So we expect some messages on this queue, and as you can see, we have got two messages which are ready. And these are the exact two messages which our employee writer used to emit. So after the filtering logic, we always had two employees coming in the console. This time we're going to have them on the RabbitMQ console. So let's go ahead and click here. So as you can see, you can come down here, you will see get messages. So I'm just going to get one message. So let's hit this button. And as you can see, we have the JSON here. This is the employee that we had with the ID 2. And since this is the first message, I'm going to go and get both the messages. So we'll see ID 1 and ID 2 both. So, oh yeah, we've got ID 2 and 4 because both of them were not from Glasgow and you've got the Glasgow employees filtered out. So these are the two employees which we were seeing on the console up till now. Now we are seeing them in the RabbitMQ queue. So this is how you connect Spring Batch application to RabbitMQ as a downstream writer. Hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one.